I think we're live.
We are. We're live. Let's pull the graphic down and expose ourselves.
Why?
There we are.
Why? Oh, why, everybody? Where'd you get that done? That was a nice little 5-stack graphic. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the 5-stack. We're going to have a little inside conversation here while you filter into the room. Welcome. We're going to cover the 5 most important stories of the day. When did you decide to do that graphic? That
was done by my AI. You know, I've become quite a fan of AI and coding on AI, which, believe it or not, is not that difficult. If anyone at home wants to try it, it's kind of fun. Nope. You don't have to do anything. You just tell the AI to code, and it codes for you. So it came up with that graphic all by itself, believe it or not.
Oh, well, it's going to kill us next.
It is a little concerning when you realize how powerful this thing really is. I mean, it's kind of shocking to me how much it can do, and how all our jobs are kind of on the line at some point. But right now, it's still kind of that fun phase where if you're interested in this kind of stuff, it's useful and interesting because it can make things easier. But, you know, one can imagine down the line, it's going to take away some jobs.
Oh, yeah, I guess so, right? Like Jeff Bezos, 600,000 jobs. He's going to get ready to absolutely gut his work and use drones and self-driving vehicles and AI to be able to kind of coordinate everything. You got nobody in logistics, no drivers anymore, and all that stuff. It's going to happen. Like there is an AI apocalypse coming when it comes to labor in North America and around the world. So, you know, unless you have the ability to do really, really dumb shit like I do, well, it's going to be tough for people because the authentic stuff is always going to win. Like, you know, I can't tell you how many different AI videos I've seen over the past couple of weeks where I'm like, yeah, and it's funny because my partner will be like, "Oh, look at this! Isn't this cute? A lion playing with a dog, and they're best friends, and they went for a swim." And I'm like, "Honey, that's not real." And she gets angry every time because she gets sucked into it. Right? That's one aspect of the danger. You know, you apply that through a political lens or some kind of geopolitical lens or a lie or gaslighting. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, I just saw Donald Trump blowing Santa, a mall Santa." No, that's
it was
not
somebody
real.
else. It wasn't Santa. It was what's his name? Bill Clinton, I think.
Was Bubba. Like, you can literally create that video now where it's like, is that real? Is that really Bubba? Is that Trump? Oh my God, it's so small. Like that's sort of the danger. But now what AI is doing, it's like a mushroom buried in a beanbag.
I'm not going there. I'm just not doing this at the start of the show on a Monday. I'm not going down this path with you. You
don't have to do it. I'm doing it,
and thank you for doing it. But I will not be doing it myself. Because it's a path.
Your journalistic integrity is
it's not even journalistic integrity. I just don't have the stomach for it at this time of the. You know, it's just not right at this time. I just had
lunch.
Did
you just eat?
Yeah, I'm not ready to discuss anyone's.
Just some mushroom caps.
You know, no mushrooms in my lunch today. I'm afraid.
Okay. Anyway, back to the AI conversation.
Yes,
we literally have AI creating its own viruses to hack governments now. It's not a good scene. And down in the United States, Donald Trump is like, "We're open for business, anything AI you want," because all the crypto bros own all the AI and they own all the technology behind the exchanges, There's a great expose about David Sachs. By the way, everybody should go read it.
That's a good one.
Oh, fuck, so good. Wall Street Journal again? Or was that New York Times?
I think that was the Times, wasn't it? I think
you're right, yeah. But like, you know, the power in the hands of very few is going to fuck over the very many very, very soon. I mean, we're getting close. But to your point, create some fucking sweet memes. And
but you know what we can do? We can create Dean and fake Zev and create an AI 5-stack, which means the show will continue in perpetuity forever. With just us as animation.
You know how much time?
I don't know why my camera's flashing.
Do you know how much time that'll save?
Yeah.
You're being hacked. You know how much time that'll save where I don't have to write any of the things that I write. I don't have to talk. And I don't have to do this is a time capital thing. Like 2-3 hours goes into each 1 hour show at least, right? Yeah. And we could save a lot of time having AI Dean and AI Zev. Just
AI
the
Dean,
5 most compelling stories of the day.
Who knows who'll be better? I'm sure the real Dean will be better, but you know. AI Dean, I'd give it a try. I'd give it one try. We'll see how it goes. Did I just lose this? Are you there?
No.
Oh, sorry, Mike just appeared off my screen.
Right here.
There you are. Okay, there we are. All right. Should we get into the top 5?
Anyway, I guess so, if you want to go that way.
I mean, that's what the show's about.
Guess so.
The show is about top 5 stories of the day, the breaking news stories of the day.
We got some good ones.
The number 5 story actually comes directly from deanblundell.substack.com. A Wall Street Journal investigation reveals Trump's peace plan for Ukraine isn't really about peace. Surprise, surprise. It's about profit. Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, and Kremlin-linked Kirill Dmitriev are negotiating mega deals to revitalize Russia's $2 trillion economy, with $300 billion in frozen Russian assets as seed money for U.S.-Russia joint ventures. Meanwhile, Europe and Canada are now gaming out the unthinkable, a coordinated dump of U.S. treasuries if Trump recognizes Putin's land grab. So there's two stories there. You've got it all on deanblundell.substack.com. What's going on?
Everything and nothing at the same time. And it could be everything, it could be nothing. But listen, both of these stories kind of fit together like a puzzle piece. If you go to deanblundell.substack.com, you can check it out. The one story is Trump's Ukraine ultimatum peace deal is a $2 trillion cash grab for Trump, Putin, and their pals. The other story is Canada and the EU are exploring nuclear options to stop the pillaging of Ukraine at the hands of Trump and Putin. Now, the reason why both of these stories go together, let's start with the absolutely disgusting profit-taking on the bones and the genocide of the Ukrainian people that Trump and Putin are trying to engineer. This was never about peace. It still isn't about peace. This is about how Donald Trump can enrich his family members and friends and deal-making pals that put him in the White House, that donated to him, the oligarchy, the broligarchy, the oil oligarchy. What can I do for them? And what he's going to do for them is chop up Ukraine. Now, we found this out because of the Witkoff tapes. If you remember a couple of days ago, these Witkoff tapes came out. I don't know who fucking did that. I read Terrence Goggins, by the way, just a quick aside.
Yeah.
And he says there's this deep military state called the Cell that is responsible for keeping the lights on in the United States of America until such time that the political and geopolitical movement in the States gets rid of Donald Trump.
It's fairly concerning that these things exist. On the other hand, it's kind of nice that it's happening. I mean, I got to say, I think there's a real problem with my system because it keeps flashing. Are you noticing that? I keep like disappearing and appearing. So I'm going to, you keep talking for a second.
Like watching a Japanese anime show.
Yeah. And
you do your thing and I'll kind of fill people in. Now, this Wall Street Journal report, everybody was talking about make money, not war. If you saw it, make money, not war, Trump's real peace plan for peace in Ukraine. Did a little digging, had a few conversations. Here's the catch. His peace effort is actually around reviving, being enriched around reviving Russia's $2 trillion economy. If anybody thought that Russia was a superpower, they're not. They've got roughly the same GDP as fucking Italy. So, you know, no, not in the big scheme of things. But Donald Trump, for whatever reason, and I can tell you the reasons because Vladimir Putin has the fucking Epstein files, is hell-bent on normalizing relations, relieving sanctions, and to do that, Putin and his team, Kirill Dmitriev and everybody involved with the Russian fund, the Russian sovereign fund, have basically said, listen, what we're going to do is we'll give you a piece of Nord Stream, we'll give you a piece of this company, we'll give you a piece of Lukoil, we'll give you a piece of Rosneft, and we'll also give you whatever you want out of Ukraine, provided we get to share in the spoils and the riches. That would be lovely.
Yeah.
So that's what Donald Trump, Steve Witkoff, and his entire cabal have been working on for the last 12 months. This has been negotiated ahead of time prior to Trump actually getting into office. You're going to start seeing some of that news appear very, very shortly.
Say that again, the last part again. I didn't think I got what's going to happen before?
You're going to start seeing, receipts from when Trump, Witkoff, and his pals started to cook this plan up with Putin prior to him even getting elected.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Before he got elected.
It's starting to come up. Absolutely. You remember all those phone calls, right?
Yeah.
You remember all those visits from Orban? You remember all that shit?
Yeah, I do remember all that.
Was. Yes, sir.
So they set up this deal way before they even got into power again. Oh, that's not good. That sort of sets him up as a Manchurian candidate again.
We know he is.
Same theme keeps coming back and back and back. This whole Trump-Russia thing returns. It is true, as it turns out.
Yeah.
And this is no more evidence. Wow, that's really interesting. This was cooked up before.
Yeah, and at the heart of it, about $300 billion in frozen Russian central bank assets. The idea is to unlock the money, funnel it into investment projects, a U.S.-led reconstruction in Ukraine and Russia, by the way, because Ukraine has beat the shit out of Russian infrastructure for the past year. They've done some real damage. They're operating around 30% of their original oil capacity when it comes to refining and pulling the shit out of the ground. They have no way of getting it to ports. Ukraine actually bombed their shadow fleet the other day in the Black Sea. I don't know if you know that. They took out 3 boats. 2 sank. 1 is just sitting in the middle of the ocean, just taking on water at the moment. But they did it all through Steve Witkoff, Trump's billionaire pal. He's been his special envoy prior to even being named the special envoy. He literally gushed to the Wall Street Journal about Russia's potential. Russia has so many vast resources, vast expanses of land, he says. Imagine a future where Russia, the U.S., and the Ukraine are all business partners. That has been the entire point.
Yeah, imagine that future. That sounds like a wonderful future, Steve Witkoff. It sounds perfect that we join up with authoritarian countries and then become these, hungry, warlording militaries that take over countries. I'm really intrigued by this notion that there is a possibility that the Canada and Europe might impose what they're calling a nuclear option, which means basically selling all the treasuries that they hold of US dollars in order to create a collapse in the U.S. economy if Trump gives in to Putin. Now, you've got that story as well, and Dean Blundell. That seems to me like a really drastic option. Is that something that's actually going to happen?
It's huge, and it's happening. Yeah, and let me kind of walk you through it. If you remember when Trump started his tariff scam, extortion, assault, and he hammered Canada with 50% tariffs and 25% tariffs, and then all of a sudden, Mark Carney makes a phone call. I wrote a piece about it back in April. Encourage everybody to go read it. And he said, hey, guys, we hold a few trillion in the United States debt of the 37 trillion that they're in debt to the rest of us through their T-bills and treasury bonds. What happens if we just sell those off? And a couple of countries that were involved in those conversations, Belgium being one of them, Japan being another one, started to sell them. And that's when you saw Trump, if you remember, that stutter step at the start where he's like, okay, no tariffs, no tariffs. And then the bond market kind of settled down to, 5-year yields, 10-year yields started to kind of come back up. But then, the GDP and the tariffs and the consumer index, it just continued to hammer the U.S. economy, which is literally on fucking life support if it wasn't for AI, big tech firms, and crypto. Like literally the top 10 companies that are holding Wall Street afloat
12 of
are,
them,
are 12 companies.
Yeah,
exactly. So it's a mirage. Like the economy is
real.
in so much fucking danger that if that bubble bursts, it's fucking over.
Yeah, and it's a short-term mirage because these are all short-term jobs. These are not jobs that are going to keeping on once they've built all these data centers. But it still exists. I mean, we're still in a bit of a, the stock market is climbing because of AI companies, but that's happened before. It's just that it's not going to be very well sustained or broad enough for there to be a sustained kind of growth that the Trump administration want to have. But go on, explain this nuclear option. It's still kind of bizarre to me that they will do something like this because it really will hurt the American economy and the American public. And it might actually turn things around. It might actually end up having the opposite effect, where the Americans become angry at Canada and at Europe for doing something like this to the economy, because it does hurt the rank and file of the average person in the street. It's not this doesn't go to just Trump. You're muted, I think. Still muted. Oh boy, we're having a fun day today. Still muted. Hello. You're still muted. I'm not sure how to fix that. Dean, you might have to come back in. Sorry. Although your red light's not on there. I see the red light on the one side. On your LED thing. Okay, I can't hear you. Nothing happening. Although you look nice, I'll just keep talking until I see you again. All right, that's Dean Blundell. We'll be back in a second. Let's do it this way. What he's talking about is really amazing and interesting. I mean, if there is in fact an idea here that the Europeans and the Canadians will tank the American economy, a difficult move to manage from a political and public perspective, because what do you do when people's can't afford anything, when the supplies chains keep breaking down? Here's Dean again. I think you're back. Are you back?
Yeah. Hi.
Hi. There you are.
Hi. Nice to see you. I'm back. Yeah.
I don't know what happened there.
We'll get to the fallout for the American people and the destruction of the U.S. economy in just a second. But this is something that the EU are all meeting about right now. Every EU country is meeting with Ukraine. They're meeting with their coalition of the willing partners to have this conversation. If this indeed is nothing but a cash grab for Donald Trump, the United States of America, and your pals, and if this indeed is something that is going to give Russia financial relief while they're on the fucking brink of destruction, like economic collapse in Russia, do we give Donald Trump that open door to enrich himself? Or do we devalue everything that he's trying to create and that he has created? And do we devalue and do we remove that as a trigger because he just simply can't afford it? The United States of America will go into the toilet. Now, hear me out. because I had a lot of Americans feed into the piece that I put together today. Canada and the EU exploring nuclear option to stop Putin's attempt to pillage Ukraine, who agree. They're like, short-term pain, long-term gain. We don't give a shit. Now, the underpinnings of the financial markets really come out of America, but we know it's a mirage. So it needs to get cleaned out. There needs to be a fucking Armageddon, a financial Armageddon in the United States of America, because that is the only thing at this point, other than the EU saying, which they are also prepared to do, we're going all in, boots on the ground. We're going to supply as much hardware as it takes to beat Russia in Ukraine. That is part of the conversation with these coalitions.
Great. The first part about it, collapsing the American economy, is dangerous, because what happens when, this is what Trump wants, actually. He wants to collapse the American economy. He wants an America riled up with a good reason to attack Europe, with a good reason to come after Canada. This provides him the kind of reason that he needs. I mean, if America and Canada are viewed as, doing economic warfare against the United States, then he's got a reason to respond. And I don't think we want to give him that reason to respond right now, because he's already flailing. I mean, he has, we've seen it in the last few weeks. He's lost his support. He's not there anymore. He doesn't have the kind of backing he used to have, especially from Republicans. And so we're seeing this evolution in his power, devolution in his power. He's becoming less and less powerful. This could arm him with a real reason to come after Europe.
Yeah, I know, but it's not just Europe. Mm-hmm. There are a bunch of countries that are involved in this conversation. India is involved in this conversation. Japan is involved in this conversation. Spain, all the Five Eyes countries minus the United States of America, obviously New Zealand, mm-hmm. France, England, Canada. There's so many different countries that are involved in this conversation, but this is an all-in moment for the EU.
And then it collapses the U.S. dollar as well, right? I mean, that's the other thing.
Trump is trying to force this into Ukraine. Trump is trying to make money off the bones of people that were raped, pillaged, kidnapped, and murdered in Ukraine for the past 3.5 fucking years, almost 4 years. So, this is D-Day for EU. This is digital D-Day. This is Ukraine D-Day. This is how do we beat Russia, and how do we beat them now so that we don't have to deal with that Russian aggression anymore? And how do we help the people of Ukraine? There's a military option they're discussing, and they're discussing the financial option. You can have all the fucking problems with it you want, but this is their core idea. This is what Donald Trump wants to do. He wants to take $300 billion in frozen Russian central bank assets. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want to use it to build Ukraine or to punish Russia. He wants to use it as seed money for him and his friends to have a U.S.-Russia mega deal in energy, mining, reconstruction contracts, rare earths, and to take over the fucking Arctic. You wrap it all into some ceasefire language that locks Russian territorial gains into place where everyone on TV calls it, that's the best we can do. And you have handed Ukraine over to Russia and Donald Trump, the American mob and the Russian mob, and it is fucking game over. That is the importance of both of these triggers, should they choose to use the financial trigger, which I am all in for, even though it is going to destroy the global economy in some capacity.
I agree with you that what he's plan is a non-starter. It's appeasement, done another way, and so we need something that is going to be meaningful in terms of stopping him. I'm not sure the nuclear option is the right prescription for it, but it may be okay. It certainly seems to me that it's just exposing the peace plan and exposing this $2 trillion theft that they're basically trying to execute in the scheme.
Can I walk you through it?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, let me walk you through it. This is the scenario that European policymakers, EU leaders are currently, and analysts are modeling behind closed doors. This is an inside conversation I'll let you in on.
Okay.
If Trump crosses the red line by recognizing Russian territorial claims in Ukraine, it's on. Because that's what Trump wants to do. He just wants to say, okay, that all belongs to Russia, Donetsk, the East, Donbas, Crimea.
That's what Jared and Witkoff came there for, basically.
Yeah. If that happens, no deal. EU goes all in financially. EU goes all in militarily. In response, Europe and a handful of like-minded partners, Canada, Japan, a few others, will execute a coordinated shift out of U.S. treasuries. Very important. Not necessarily sell every bond tomorrow and you only live once, YOLO, the world economy. Yeah. However, it'll more be like a fast, deliberate rotation away from U.S. debt and into other assets and currencies. So not a full sell-off, but strategic sell-off, and then moving that money away from the United States strategically toward allied investment and towards Ukraine to help the allies. So what's going to happen? And this is really, really important. U.S. borrowing costs will spike. Europe and friends will unload a chunk of treasury bonds. Bond prices fall. Yields rise. Washington has to pay more to borrow on the same dollar. That $37 trillion goes to $45 trillion in a day. The dollar's aura cracks. Treasuries, of course, supposed to be the fastest asset on earth. The U.S. Treasuries, safest asset on earth. If people who've treated them sacred for 80 years are moving away on political grounds, that risk-free shit gets a little shaky, right? So you're destroying the confidence in the dollar. And regular Americans are going to get punched in the face if this happens. As mortgages are going to go through the roof, credit ratings get destroyed, credit scores get destroyed, interest rates go way up, stocks, retirement funds will take a hit. The best economy ever will then be laid bare as the worst economy ever, because then the AI bubble will bust as well. A lot of information. Hopefully everybody kind of understood it, but that's what's being discussed right now.
Wow, that just seems like and guessing it. I'm sure they've got scenarios for everything. I think it plays into America's or Trump's hand in terms of weakening the U.S. dollar at the end of the day, helps China build up its foreign currency. And at the end of the day, he's not going to make the American people feel good about their opposition to Donald Trump. They may even back him in his, if he gets upset with Europe and Canada and starts getting really worked up over it, threatening all sorts of military action and other things, he might seem justified in that case. And that's the last thing.
Or everybody around him, he's promising to enrich, and all his oligarch pals in the oligarchy lean on him and go, get the fuck out. We need to get back to ground zero.
I didn't get that, how, you designed this deal before the election, then you spend a year in office, but now all the wheels are coming off. Everybody knows that you're doing this deal. Everybody knows that it's a scheme. It's a criminal scheme, and no one's buying your stuff anymore. So this continued charade that they're doing is beyond me. I just don't get it. Number 4 in the countdown today. Following the shooting of 2 National Guard members near the White House, Specialist Sarah Beckstrom killed and Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf wounded, Trump announced an indefinite freeze on asylum decisions with no end date. The suspect is an Afghan national who entered the United States during the 2021 evacuation, and now over 1 million pending cases are frozen, and thousands of Afghans who helped the U.S. military are in limbo. We haven't spoken about this case since it happened. Tell me what you think.
It's the reason why we haven't spoken about this case since it happened, right? They don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
They just want to drive policy with it. They don't want to talk about the specifics that the CIA vetted this gentleman in 2021. He helped special forces in Afghanistan. The guy that allegedly shot both of the National Guard members helped the CIA catch some really fucking terrible people on behalf of the U.S. government. Whether or not you're in bed with the war in Afghanistan or not, he served the interests of America. Was given this special ally exemption to come into the United States, fully vetted by the FBI. CIA, continued to work for the CIA, and then drove from his home in Washington to Washington, D.C. This is the story they want us to believe, and just decided to shoot a couple National Guards members because he's from Afghan, and because he wasn't vetted. He was not only fully vetted, he was absolutely given asylum by the fucking Trump regime in April.
Yeah.
And I watched Kristi Noem, cosplay Kristi Noem, literally stumble in a Fox News Nation interview where she was like, well, it was Biden didn't vet any of them at all, and it's all his fault.
So untrue.
And then someone from News Nation is like, yeah, but you approved that in April, and not only did you approve it in April, and Trump approved his asylum request in April under your watch, you're now saying that you also didn't vet him? And Kristi Noem had the nuts to say, and this is the insult to intelligence that is people like Kristi Noem, that are people like Kristi Noem. She had the fucking balls to say right after she's like, oh, Biden didn't vet him. She had the balls to go, well, we were relying on Biden's vetting. And I'm sitting there watching this going,
oh my God.
You fucking, are you serious right now? What are we doing?
I remember the Biden administration doing this in 2021. They decided it was a last minute thing. Originally, there was a lot of these Afghan civilians that worked alongside the U.S. military who were going to come to the United States. A lot of them were approved. They just thought they'll just send a plane over and bring them over. But then the Biden administration was very astute, actually, and decided to walk that back and not bring the Afghans over because they were worried about this exact thing, that embedded inside those Afghan exiles would be terror or potential terrorist people who could come into the country and use their skill and training inside Afghanistan. These guys were really responsible for some horrific events that were really murderous in Afghanistan. Now imagine that skill set arriving in the United States, maybe not finding work, maybe struggling to get integrated into society, and then that skill set can turn into a terrorist problem for America. And I remember the the Biden administration was so careful about this and said, no, we're not going to let those guys in. And there was a huge outcry from the veteran community and a huge outcry from members of the U.S. military saying, let's not do this. So, in fact, the Biden administration was incredibly smart about this. The deal to walk out of Afghanistan was done by Donald Trump. I mean, that was his deal. That wasn't Biden's deal. It was set at a certain date. Biden had to execute it, and it wasn't executed well. But it was because Trump put together a bad deal. And
it was a trap door, right? It was a trap door. Not only did he give up he gave up 4 out of 6 or 5 out of 6 air bases in Afghanistan that the U.S. military was using. So they had to like fire hose as many people out of that one air base as they could, which is where you saw those clips and videos of people running after these U.S. Air Force transport planes going, please take us, please take us. He was the guy that decided that we were going to exit Afghanistan. Joe Biden just had to execute. And he's like, fuck, just do it, right? Yeah. Just do it.
But
it's going to suck. It's going to be awful.
It was done under, you had to leave within a certain point of time. And I think, all being said, I think that they actually executed the policy part of that well, and they decided not to bring the Afghans over. I mean, I get it. The Afghan community in the United States is now under extreme watch. They are not going to let anyone in on asylum for another year. This just feeds into, or for a long time, he says, that's just going to feed into, the anti-immigration thing that's going on in America. But at the end of the day, it's lousy policy. And the fact that they're ignoring the fact that it's his responsibility for putting the National Guard on patrol that even drew out this guy, that is the real problem, is that we've now got police.
But we don't even know why this gentleman shot those 2 National Guard members. We don't know anything. We don't know motive. All we're doing is we're getting policy, which is driven by some mysterious, ambiguous motive that he says sits with people who have claimed asylum in the United States. Now, to claim asylum, be granted asylum, you have to prove to DHS that people are trying to kill you where you're from.
Yeah.
You have to prove to DHS that if you don't come to the United States, you will be murdered. Your family will be murdered. These are people that come from war-torn dictatorial countries like North fucking Korea or Iran or Russia. A bunch of different countries where you're just asking for political asylum. That's what you're doing. You're asking for physical asylum for you and your family. And there's a program available for so many people to come into the United States and Canada that works, right? And you get vetted. They don't just allow fucking people into the country, which is the story that Donald Trump's trying to tell them. And so what they're trying to do now is they're trying to drive policy, and that policy is highly fucking racist, super xenophobic, and completely fucking illegal. And that policy is, we're going to stop and freeze asylum for anybody coming into this country, and anybody who is going to get granted asylum tomorrow, the next day, in the next 2 weeks, at a scheduled hearing, full stop. Now, what does that do? And this is really interesting. That now puts them on ICE goons' doorstep. That now puts them on the Gestapo's doorstep. So what does Donald Trump get to do? He gets to send those people to those homes of those people who are granted legal asylum, because he is framing one shooting by a fully vetted guy that his regime granted asylum to, framing everybody for those 2 shootings and 1 murder that we still don't know fucking anything about. And let me just give you some demographics. In 2024, FBI released estimated crime data, murders, 16,924. 94% of those murders were committed by people who lived in the United States, are American, worked in the United States. Of those 94%, 70% were committed by white dudes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
White people.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, but then they don't count as crime when
go after white people
do it. It's only when brown people do it that it counts as crime. That's basically what the way the Trump administration thinks. You're not suggesting, are you, that this was a targeted killing in order to drive policy? You're not suggesting that someone would have done this on purpose in order to drive policy? Or
I don't doubt anything with this dickhead. I mean, I don't doubt, like, dude, I don't know if you're paying attention to the. Once again, we're going to get back into sexy talk.
Oh,
the Ryan, Liz, Olivia.
Oh my gosh, this is actually this is dinner time conversation over Thanksgiving. It was unbelievable. This is all people were speaking about, and I was like, really, canyons again? What's the latest? What is the latest? I haven't
rivers and canyons. Well, the one thing that that I took away from that is that everything is an operation,
Yeah.
right? You know, if you're paying attention to how the political machine catches and kills stories, catches and kills stories by destroying narratives, wrecking reputations, hiding people, and making sure they never see the light of day, and then taking that person's, you know, imported narrative and then presenting that to different people as if that is the truth, and it is not the fucking truth.
You've come a long way. Just your perception of things. I know a few years ago you weren't as much of a believer in that everything is an operation, but nowadays I think you are. I think you've evolved.
I got to tell you, you know, and I wrote a piece about the media today in this regard, is that I think a lot of it, most of it, is a psyop on you and me.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is a psyop on the American people. Everything Donald Trump does is a psyop. He is not the person he presents himself. And in that conversation, in the last piece that Ryan Lizza put out, there's a conversation where he has evidence that Olivia Nuzzi armed Isabel, the artist who was doing a portrait of Donald Trump, with a recording device, and said, it's in his fucking piece.
Yeah.
He allegedly makes reference to the fact that maybe the Butler shooting might not, we're going to find out in episode 4. I'm desperately waiting for it. Maybe the Butler shooting wasn't real.
You know,
that's the takeaway everybody else has from it. My point is this, is that I don't put anything past him. No. I do not discount, and I'm not positing that this guy is a false flag, that they tricked this guy to come and shoot a couple National Guard members. They fucked him over mentally, and he went and did it, and now they've hidden him somewhere in a jail cell in Washington, D.C., saying, don't say a fucking word because we're going to run this narrative, and we're going to go and absolutely level immigrants across this country and deport them all and beat the shit out of them and get lots of cool micro content out of it that makes us look tough and cool, or makes it looks like if we don't get rid of immigrants, we don't get rid of people of color, we don't get rid of people that don't look like us, they're just going to continue to murder people, but you don't know the context. So that's why I don't personally, if you're going to say I don't believe that this gentleman acted alone.
We need to know a lot more. I just don't think we know yet. But what you're saying doesn't worry. It doesn't set off any alarms. It's quite possible that this was an organized shooting in order to drive policy. It's not. It's happened before. It wouldn't be unusual.
Well, look at fucking. You know, the amazing part is we mentioned it on Coffee and Tea this weekend with Lev. Whenever all these scandals are bearing down, right? The Witkoff call comes out. Peace plan, you find out it's totally laundered. Everybody's committing treason. Pete Hegseth's murdering people in the Caribbean. Now we know that that's murder. He's under investigation. Someone gets shot.
Yeah.
Did you ever notice that?
Oh, yeah. The timing's always
Charlie
impeccable.
Kirk got shot right when the Epstein files were going to come out. And then the ICE shooting, shot. Oh, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
You know, just on that note, The Greatest Heist, when I did chapter 4, which came out yesterday in book 2, it's all about the Monica Lewinsky operation and how interesting it is to me that Ken Starr, of all people, lands up representing Epstein. I mean, I was like, this is crazy. I mean, Epstein was good friends with Clinton, and they were supposedly hanging out together and doing all sorts of things. And then the guy who's going after Clinton lands up being the guy who defends Epstein. Now, that's weird. That doesn't make any sense to me. That seems to be like an operation.
There are no coincidences here, sir.
There are no coincidences here. Absolutely. That and the fact that, you remember that Epstein had this portrait of Clinton in a blue dress in his home.
Yeah.
I mean, why have that
wearing
dress?
high heels?
Yeah. Why have that portrait up? Only if you're trying to send a message to Clinton or just laugh at him. For the reason that you got him.
Are you suggesting that Jeffrey Epstein set up Monica Lewinsky?
I think that I'm not suggesting that at all. I don't disagree. There's a network there that has done things where we know Epstein did blackmail. We know he did that. That was one of the things that he ran. Would it be realm of possibility that he also could have blackmailed the president of the United States? It could be, because that was the role Epstein was given by the Israeli intelligence service, was to stop Clinton from running a peace deal with the Palestinians. And then, along comes Monica Lewinsky. And I'm not saying that Epstein did it himself, but he happened to be in Clinton's social circle, was in the White House 17 times during the White House term. I mean,
there's like 9 or 10 different ledgers, flight ledgers with Bill Clinton's name on it.
Yeah,
right? I mean, we haven't heard from him, and the Epstein files are flying. He was there. I mean, he did some shit. We don't know what shit he did. We don't know how close the relationship is. But let's not dial all the way back to Lewinsky. That's a solid 30 years ago. Let's keep it in the now. Is that I completely, yeah. I think we're going to find out some things in the next couple of months. And I think those things are going to be related to the Butler assassination attempt. I think those things are going to be related, obviously, to the Epstein files, and we'll get to that because it's D-Day today. And I think that we're going to find out the true nature of Donald Trump's crimes against the American people, crimes against the Canadian people, crimes against the fucking Russian people by allowing this to prolong itself. And I think everybody is going to, specifically in MAGA, I think that they are all going to be for it. They're in for a fucking very rude awakening. Like we're into Nuremberg territory now. We're into the ICC territory, crimes against humanity, defrauding the American people, sedition. We're into fucking treason conversations now. Like it's on.
It is on. And speaking of which, at number 3, Trump announced a full and complete pardon for Juan Orlando Hernandez, the former president of Honduras, who has been serving 45 years for conspiring to move 400 tons of cocaine into the United States. Trump simultaneously endorsing Hernandez's National Party candidate, Nasri Asfura, in Honduras's election that's happening today. Now, that's the backing. Essentially, Trump is backing the party of a convicted drug kingpin while he's releasing him and claiming to fight the drug war at the same time. I mean, it's sort of like the hypocrisy, the contradictions, the irony, whatever you want to call it, is so huge. How can Trump be allowing this kingpin out of prison, giving him a full and complete pardon as he's fighting the supposed narco Venezuela?
Do you remember the conversation we had a couple of weeks ago about Trump blowing up those boats in the Caribbean?
Yeah.
And that conversation sat adjacent to another conversation we had that day about how the Trump regime this year offered asylum.
Mm-hmm.
They offered asylum to the biggest kingpins in the Sinaloa cartel.
They did.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Yeah.
You told me it was a drug war.
Guess what cartel the former Honduran president?
The Sinaloas.
You got it. You got it.
That's wow. You're a smart man. I mean, it doesn't surprise me. But so what's really going on then, Dean? Is Trump basically helping the cartels in Mexico defeat the Venezuelans? What's going on? Like, who's actually fighting whom?
We have yet to find that out. I mean, the first thing that Putin did when he came to power is he went and collected all the mob guys, all the drug guys. He's like, okay, I'll let you do your thing, but you work for me.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're like, okay, but take all these other drug dealers out. Mm-hmm. So he went on a Duterte style genocide of drug dealers that didn't want to work with the drug dealers that Putin wanted to work with. He literally murdered hundreds, maybe thousands of people involved in different Russian gangs. And he consolidated the Russian mafia underneath the state crest of the Russian Empire. That's what they are. That's what Prigozhin's people were. That's what Wagner was. That's what everybody he's got working in that little fucking, it's a massive building of, crypto, theft.
Anything organized crime, peddling. They're good at. They love that.
They're run by organized crime. Donald Trump is the fucking carbon copy of that in the United States. He's just getting his baby steps on right now.
Yeah.
And when he invited the Sinaloa cartel into the United States to come and live there and did it under the cover of night, there was one gentleman that needed to get out of jail as well. One gentleman. And that was the former president of Honduras, this gentleman who was convicted in a court in the United States of America for sending billions of pounds, not millions, billions of pounds of cocaine into the United States of America. Now, while Trump is telling everybody that I'm not allowing drugs onto our shore, I'm not doing that. He's blowing up fishing boats, telling everybody those are drug boats. Maybe they're the competition. Nobody really fucking knows because they won't tell us anything. And on the other hand, you have the head of the fucking Sinaloa cartel, this Honduran president, get walking papers after being sentenced to 45 years in prison for being the biggest drug kingpin in the fucking world.
Now, I remember his arrest. It was done, he was really involved in the drug trade. He wasn't like he was just accidentally involved in it. He actually
and the best part was he was like, he goes, Biden unfairly targeted him too.
But he was moving drugs. Like he was actually moving, cocaine into America.
Government planes.
Yeah. It was a big deal. And so now to release him is just such a weirdness. And, this is going to stop in a very big way, obviously, when this next story comes to light. Top Republicans, this is number 2, are now publicly saying Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth may have committed war crimes after the Washington Post reported he gave verbal orders to kill everybody aboard a drug smuggling boat, including a second strike to kill survivors that were fleeing for their lives in the water. Both House and Senate Armed Services Committees, led by Republicans, have launched investigations. It seems that the Secretary of War is involved in a war crime.
The Secretary of War of the United States of America, which is a made-up position and a made-up department, we've been over that, is going to go to a real fucking jail. This investigation is being led by 2 very, very powerful senators and some very, very powerful congressmen and women. Equal parts Republican, equal parts Democrat. And it's the Armed Services Committee. I don't know if you know anything about who's on the Armed Services Committee.
It's chaired by Wicker, and these guys are very serious guys.
Very serious guys. The Russia hawks. They fucking hate Russia. And they have hated everything that Pete Hegseth has done. They have hated all the capitulation from Trump. Secretly, there is a cabal of very serious GOP members who are going to start this investigation. And they're going to include one Mark Kelly on the Armed Services Committee. Now, here's the catch. Pete Hegseth is going to go to jail for murdering people in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
The reason why Pete Hegseth is going to go to jail for murdering people in the Caribbean is because he murdered people in the fucking Caribbean, killed them all. He said, double tap. If you know anything about a double tap, you hit them once, and then if there's anything left over, you kill them again. It's mob shit. It's dictator shit. It's just, and it's what Putin does to the Ukrainians all the time. They'll hit them all. Russia will hit them all, and then security services will show up with emergency services, and then they'll hit them again and kill all of those people. And that's what the Secretary of War of the United States of America did to 2 men clinging to the side of a boat that he blew up with no due diligence, no nothing, just for the perception and for the idea that, hey, this is going to help us invade Venezuela. We'll just tell them all they're all Venezuelans. Who the fuck knows who they were? Nobody really knows. But the fascinating part, and I don't know if you know this, Pete Hegseth does not have any legal jurisdiction to put a guy like Mark Kelly into a legal process or a court martial for Mark Kelly's don't follow illegal orders, this is what Mark Kelly was fucking talking about. Yeah. And he put out another video and he did the same thing again. And Pete Hegseth's like, I'm coming to get you. Interesting. Mark Kelly has the full jurisdiction to not only investigate Pete Hegseth, but charge Pete Hegseth with crimes.
He's doing it in response to that? He's doing it because of that? Or he knew this was coming? Or do you think that he's just sending out a warning shot? Or because I don't think Hegseth has actually very much line of authority to call any of these things. It seemed like it went from Hegseth to this Team 6 commander, and then he executed the order. But that's not the normal chain of command. It's got to go through the normal chain of command, and it didn't.
No.
Oh, it's such a mess. Mike Turner, who heads the House Intelligence Committee, said this would be an illegal act. Now, Mike Turner is a Ohioan Republican. I mean, what we're seeing is the GOP breaking away from Trump and his goons in a very, very big way. Because for someone like Mike Turner to be saying something like that would be an illegal act and without an investigation having launched yet, he's already saying that would be an illegal act, is something else. And then, of course, you've got Tim Kaine also on the military committee, the Armed Services Committee, saying that this rises to a level of a war crime. I mean, these are very serious people saying very serious things about the Secretary of War who clearly committed a war crime. I mean,
well, war crimes aren't looked at like murder is, extrajudicial murder. And I think it's really important to note that there is no war, right? And so war crimes, unless they start a war, that's off the table. Murdering people, illegal orders to murder people for no fucking reason, that's murder.
Yeah.
And you can get charged with murder, and everybody in the chain of command is going to get charged with fucking murder. And if you know anything about the first Nuremberg trials back in 45, 46, 47, if you remember that, right after the Second World War, how many of those generals sat there and were like, we were just fucking following orders?
Yeah.
That's all we were doing. Oh, the pooch is going crazy. Sorry. We were just following orders. They all got hung too. Every single one of them.
You can't
so if you're
say
watching this and you're in the chain of command, maybe stop doing whatever Pete Hegseth tells you to do.
And I bet these tapes of the actual event when they were shot, they shot at this boat.
Well, they exist.
They exist, and I bet you the senators have seen this. I mean, they're not just saying these things because they feel like it. They're saying these things because they've probably seen the actual tapes. And I look forward to those unedited tapes coming out because I bet you they were edited. I bet you there's a cover-up here. It just smells like a cover-up. Nothing about this sounds genuine at all. And this nonsense that there was, this was a mechanical issue or something they were trying to fix with their second shot. It's not that. I mean, clearly, Pete Hegseth killed someone.
I laughed out loud when I read that.
Yeah.
Well, there we didn't know if the first missile went. So we had to do it again. And here's the fucked up part: is that not only did they acknowledge it and pimp it with videos and pictures, right? Not only. Sorry, just making sure.
That's okay.
Sorry. I'm just not only do they acknowledge it and pimp it, right? Like this video, we killed 5 more guys, we killed 12 more guys, we killed 2 more guys. Look at this murder we're committing in the middle of the fucking Caribbean. Yeah. When they were asked about it, they're like, yeah, we fucking did it, and we'll do it again. If you remember, JD Vance is like, we don't give a shit what you call it. We're fucking going after the bad guys. Well, now they give a shit what they call it. And here's the catch. Donald Trump was asked about it on Air Force One the other day. He was, and by the way, he is so incoherent now. He has lost his.
That MRI mind. Comment was so weird and so strange, and it's just.
Hey, can you get a release where the MRI was? He goes, I don't know where it was. And
How
it was
can
like,
you not
was it
know?
the brain? He goes, it can't be the brain because I took a cognitive test 10 years ago and I aced it. You couldn't even do that, and you couldn't even do that either.
I mean,
it's fucking crazy.
How can he not know where the MRI was? It's not possible. He knew where the MRI was.
Yeah, he might not. Like there's the thing. He might be so fucked in the head that he has no idea what he had the MRI for.
It's scary if he doesn't remember.
Or he's lying.
It's even scarier if he does. I mean, both are just terrible situations.
Both answers are not fucking great answers.
He can't do there's no way to answer that correctly. And the number one story on the countdown today at noon, the Department of Justice must provide or had to provide Judge Richard Berman with a complete inventory of all the Epstein materials under seal and explain how they'll protect the victims. But a devastating letter from victims' attorneys reveals DOJ has already exposed victims' identities in documents released to Congress. And the scale of the Epstein operation is, get this, far worse than previously admitted. DOJ confirmed that
far worse than the first, far worse, or far worse than the second and the third and the fourth?
Far worse than the 1,000 victims, because now the attorneys represent 300 additional women the DOJ doesn't even know about. The judge is now taking control of the process because he says the DOJ can't be trusted because in this letter, which is quite devastating, I'll put it up on narrative after the show. He basically, they've alleged the DOJ has not been doing its job, and that there's 300 other victims that they're not investigating, and it's a problem. So the judge is now taking control of this process. He will be the one determining what gets redacted and what doesn't get redacted, and what gets released and what doesn't get released. That is a big deal because that whole DOJ cover-up that we thought was happening, I don't think it's going to pass Judge Berman's muster or test here because he's a very smart guy. So that's big breaking news today. And I think that people need to be paying attention to this letter. It's a very smart move by the lawyers for the survivors because they basically are undercutting the DOJ and forcing the judge to now preside over the Epstein files.
Dude, do you have the letter there?
I do have the letter here.
Oh, you got to read it in your sultry voice.
I'm going to just, that's going to take me a second just to pull it up
later on, buddy. Yeah.
Give me a second, just yak for a second while
that is stunning.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. I've been buried all day. I just finished doing a piece with Lev, and then lots of just work
busy
stuff.
Lad.
And I'm usually on the tip of the Epstein files. But what you're saying is, let me just kind of see if I've got all of my ducks in an Epstein row here. Is that because of the piss poor job redacting and preparing the Epstein files to be given to the House Oversight Committee, they've actually identified 300 more victims that didn't get redacted, that were in the actual files. And now the judge has said, whoa, stop. Just stop. I will take over the process, not the DOJ, not Pam Bondi, not Kash Patel, not Dan Bongino, who, by the way, is
not Donald Trump.
Not Donald Trump. I will decide, and let's follow up on these other 300 victims.
Yeah. And that he's basically taking the responsibility away from them to determine by December 19th what's going to be released. Now, the deadline was today at noon. He was meant to, it says here, you can look at this at the letter. This is the court's ruling. The court directs that the government provide the court by noon on Monday, December 1, 2025, the following information: a detailed description of all materials subject to the protective order dated July 25th, 2019. The court will take in-camera review of the materials, meaning they'll go through everything themselves that the government is seeking to make public, and two, a detailed description of the privacy process, including any redactions the government seeks to employ to protect the rights of Epstein victims. So the big concern here is what they're going to do to protect the rights, because, you know, in his wisdom, Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, has been releasing a whole lot of documents that have identified the victims. Which is you know, of course, not what they're meant to do. So this is a letter that the victim sent. This is Edward Henderson sent the Judge Berman, having received a similar invitation to respond to the government's companion motion to unseal the government jury transcripts in the United States versus Ghislaine Maxwell. I'm just going to get through this a little bit quick because there's a lot of detail. I just want to get to the 300 part, because that what to me has really caught my attention. You know, I have to look at, sorry. Hey, sorry about that.
You okay? You're right.
Just allergies. All right. It happens. You know what? Let me come. You're going to have to wait until I post this, because this is a long, detailed letter, and I read it.
Summarize it. You don't have to read. That's a very long letter. You don't have to read it. We got the other letter from the judge. That, by the way, it's now 4:00 Eastern time.
They didn't do this.
Eastern Daylight Time.
They did this. I didn't do it. I haven't heard of it that they've done it yet. I'll double check it as soon as we get off here. But I don't think
we have the information. They haven't done it.
Well, we would know that the judge has the information. We wouldn't have the information. But what's really important here is that it suggests that Judge Berman does not trust the DOJ, and he wants to take this into his own hands. And he's going to start investigating this by himself in terms of understanding what's in the files and then determining what gets released to the public. That is just a big deal, because up until now, I don't think anyone who's believing the DOJ would be responsible in terms of releasing this.
No, I mean, listen. You prepare for more hijinks. Yeah. I mean, this isn't like, oh, Judge Berman got him, and now he's going to fucking bend him over, and we're going to get the information, and we're going to protect all these kids. We're going to blow this thing up. Expect all kinds of delays. Expect all kinds of fucking shenanigans like this, where they poorly. And here's the other thing: 300 victims, 300 extra victims.
Yeah,
because Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, and the idiocracy that is surrounding Donald Trump and the DOJ simply didn't do their jobs properly.
Yep. And we're talking about a lot of people who are moved from Ukraine, Russia, Poland, Belarus, Lithuania, Sweden, England, France, who are hundreds of women trafficked to the United States in a massive international trafficking exercise. You know, it was never investigated by the DOJ. The indictments were never released. And I wrote about this on The Greatest Heist, Chapter 4 in Book 2. The indictments, this poor, impressive prosecutor who was trying so hard to fight the machine to get these indictments filed, the 53-page indictment and then another 82-page indictment about the financial crimes. We've never seen those. I want to see exactly what she had and why the DOJ thought it was okay to let Jeffrey Epstein walk away, and why Ken Starr and Dershowitz and the whole group of them from Kirkland and Ellis decided to kill this case in the way that they did, politically, not against the evidence, but politically killed this case in 2007 to protect a child trafficker, a human trafficker. And the reasons behind that are quite vast. As you know, this story is so massive, and it affects all the major institutions in the Republican Party. And I think that's why they're so nervous about this case.
Listen, I'm not often am I shocked or surprised by you on the 5-stack today. I
try every day, though. You know,
no, you do such a great job. That is an amazing story. We'll wait and see. I mean, I hope Judge Berman fucking just takes them all to the woodshed. I really do. Yeah. I hope that they take every single bullet out of the DOJ's gun. I hope the 300 victims that had their names probably got texts from people. Hey, your name's in this new dump from the Epstein files.
Yeah,
I mean,
those people are represented by this legal firm, so they've got representation now with there's 300 additional names. We don't even know what they're going to say. We don't know whose names they might release. We don't know anything about what their allegations are and why the DOJ chose to not investigate this big case while these people were being trafficked around the world. It's a really huge deal.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. Listen, two things before we let everybody go. I really do believe, and you know, I try to leave people a little bit of hope. I think that's the difference between the kind of content that you and I do, is we don't blush, you know, we don't make shit up. We don't look to, you know, inflame your anger just so you'll read a piece.
Yeah.
I always like to give some good news to people. Everything we talked about today is another brick in the wall. Another brick in the wall of the foundation of getting America's democracy back on track.
Mm-hmm.
Also, everything we talked about today is just another nuclear disappointment that leads directly back to the doorstep of the Oval Office and Donald J. Trump. He has lost MAGA. He is losing GOP senators. He's having a mass revolt. Troy Nels quit the other day. Fucking guy wore a Trump bow tie and had a fucking tattoo of Trump put on his arm. He's like, I'm quitting. And they're like, why? He's like, I don't want to talk about it. And this is a guy who's like, no matter what happens, no matter what Trump wants, we need to do it. Like, this is like 6 months ago, 7 months ago. He quit today. Your mass resignations are coming. The bottom is falling out, ladies and gentlemen. Keep your eyes on the prize. Keep your eyes on the truth. Follow people like Zev. Follow people like Lev. Follow us. Subscribe to us. Share this content. Share this podcast with as many people as possible who are so pissed off that your beautiful country, the United States of America, country Zev and I love so much. He's worked there. I just spent a little bit of time there doing a little bit of work myself. Love the people of the United States of America. And that support is a mirage. But now that mirage support is coming with legal consequences, where it appears the different levels of government that he has captured are waking up to the notion that he's going to destroy the country. He's going to destroy the economy. He's going to destroy our relationships, if he already hasn't, with key allies. And he's covering up a 40-year-long money laundering Russian mob, child sex trafficking ring. And he's protecting hundreds and hundreds of his friends. He's protecting foreign leaders. He's protecting a 40-year operation that went into making him the useful idiot, the president of the fucking United States. And there's two things that he doesn't want. He doesn't want you to think that he's not the president of the United States legitimately. And the other thing is he doesn't want to go to fucking prison. Well, guess what? The sharks are starting to circle, and you're seeing it in his crazy responses. You're watching his dementia-laden bullshit and his disinhibition where he loses his mind, calling people piggy, telling them that they're ugly, threatening people on his plane when they ask him about it. I watched him yesterday. They're like, where's the MRI? He goes, I couldn't tell you, but I'm perfect. I got the perfect brain. It's like the perfect call. I'm perfect.
Crazy.
He is incoherent. He is crazy, and he knows the walls are closing in. So if you're going to have a takeaway today, this is a good news podcast.
That was brilliantly said and a good summary. I mean, just think about the shows where we went through today. We went through a cocaine kingpin is being pardoned. And then there's a million asylum seekers that are being stopped from seeking asylum. You've got the Department of War under investigation for war crimes. You've got the potential nuclear attack by, not nuclear, but economic nuclear attack.
The Epstein files closing
in. And then the Epstein files. I mean, it's astonishing how much is happening right now. And on the 19th, these files are coming out. I'm telling you, they are in some fashion of some form. They're going to start dropping on the 19th of December, and Judge Berman's going to check it out. Going to make sure that it all comes out. DeanBlundell.substack.com is where you get some of the best stories, the best news in the morning, every day, all day, but you can definitely get it in the morning. And some of the stories we had for you today on the show are from DeanBlundell.substack.com, especially if you want to understand what Europe and Canada are planning against the United States. Check out Dean Blundell and give him a subscription. He absolutely deserves it for his brilliance and his just niceness.
I'm a nice guy. Yeah, I'm a bit of a weapon, but I'm a nice guy. And I've got a 1-day flash sale on 50% off annual subscriptions today. So if anybody wants to get an annual subscription, gift one, 50% off just today only. Cyber Monday. I didn't do any Black Friday stuff. Sorry, I just don't believe in that. I'm anti-commerce, terrible entrepreneur.
Isn't Cyber Monday the same as Black Friday, basically?
Yeah, but like I gotta, I work with this group of guys. They're like, hey, it's probably a good idea to do a Cyber Monday deal for people. Everybody's in this, finger shopping thing. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. And they're like, dude, it gives people cheaper access to your stuff. And I'm like, okay, I want to do that.
Yeah,
so just for 24 hours. So if you want to go and subscribe, love to have you. If you want to be a free sub, God bless you. I love you too. I love everybody in this community that has given us purpose, life, and hope. Why we do this on a daily basis, why we show up every day at 3:00 is because we love you as much as you love us, maybe even fucking more. And if I could, go to deanblundell.substack.com. If I could, just co-sign, and I apologize, I haven't read Chapter 4, Book 2, The Greatest Heist Series.
Good time.
This gentleman across from me has done the most incredible work unearthing intention, context, over 40 years. When we reference the 40-year profit taking, when we reference the destruction of the American economy, when we reference the trigger of this honeypot Epstein sex trafficking pedophile ring, it's because it leads to earth-shaking, geopolitical, world-shaping, possibly map-changing criminality that this man has spent the better part of 10 years putting together as a labor of love. So if you want real context, go and give him a subscription, become a paid subscriber, and make sure you follow him, because when you read what Zev puts together in the Greatest Heist Book 1 series, and of course Book 2 and Chapter 4, you will have a whole bunch of these noises coming out of your head. And this is one of those noises. Oh my God! Wow! Oh no! Wow!
Those are good noises. Sense. I think I like those noises. I hope they're coming out of your head when you're reading Greatest Heist. Thank you, Dean. That's super kind of you. Thank you very much. And that is the 5 stack for Monday, December the 1st. Have a great day, everybody.